Since pretty much every experiment that we see in Poppy Playtime was an orphan that used to live in Playcare, is it possible that they remember their past, or were their minds wiped after their transplant? Well, let's go over each of the toys, cause it seems like some of them do, but some of them don't, and don't even know how to act anymore. When Harley Sawyer proposed the Bigger Bodies Initiative, it took about 100 and something experiments until they had their first success with Boxy Boo, who seems to have died sometime after the Hour of Joy, but before we show up. But the thing is, Boxy Boo couldn't talk and was deemed somewhat of a failure, as he ended up being a giant man-eating monster. And we know for a fact that Boxy Boo lost a lot of his humanity in the process, because in the Chapter 4 notes, we read of a man named Stanley who tried to feed Boxy Boo and walked right into his enclosure. But Boxy Boo ended up attacking him anyway, and if it weren't for others who were on standby with tranquilizers, Boxy Boo would have most likely killed him. And another employee, whose name was Rowan Stoll, found out a little too much about Playtime Co., which led to the higher-ups trying to kill him in many different ways. But in the end, it seems that they told him to go in some sort of room where Boxy Boo was there waiting for him, and ate him before he could even react, and swallowed him whole before he could even react. And so with Boxy Boo, it seems like his past memories were completely gone, remaining some sort of shell of an animal that just wanted to eat anything and everything. Sounds a bit like our man Dope. But Playtime Co.'s next two successes, or at least that we know of, are Pianosaurus and Yarnaby, who were both similar failures, with Pianosaurus having just about as much humanity as Boxy Boo. But with Yarnaby, it seems like they got something a little bit better, as Yarnaby displayed some dog-like qualities, because when some of the staff at Playtime Co. would show affection to Yarnaby, he would then be loyal to them just like a dog would. And finally, with experiment 1170, or Huggy Wuggy, it seems that they finally cracked the code to making intelligent experiments, as Huggy was detailed as the most successful of all of the experiments, displaying sufficient intelligence along with maximum obedience. And so it's possible that Yarnaby could have remembered his past, but if we're gonna have any starting point, it's most likely that Huggy was the first to remember at least some of his past, as he was able to follow commands from Playtime Co. and retain a lot of his humanity, most likely retaining his memories as well. And with Kissy Missy being made just 2 experiments after Huggy Wuggy, it seems that she has about the same mental function as he does, as although Huggy does try to kill us, I wouldn't say that this is because of his mind not being smart enough, but rather his loyalty to the prototype, as we do know that Huggy participated in the Hour of Joy, killing everybody around him. But the experiment that we know absolutely for sure kept his memories from when he was an orphan is none other than Catnap, otherwise known as experiment 1188, made just 18 experiments after Huggy Wuggy, which if you didn't know is exactly how tall he is. Did y'all know this man was 18 feet tall? But the reason that I bring up Catnap and why I'm so confident is because of an incident that happened with the prototype while Catnap was still an orphan. Before Catnap was turned into Catnap, his name was Theodore Granville and was described as antisocial and also having an imaginary friend. But we later learned that his imaginary friend was the prototype in hiding, telling Theodore what to do, telling Theodore to grab documents, and seemingly 2 grab bag hands along with the green hand attachments, where they would both fire their green hands at a door in order to try and escape. But sadly, Theodore was electrocuted by the green hand, and the prototype dropped him off to the staff in order to save his life. And after this, Catnap treated the prototype like a god, worshipping him and doing whatever he told him to do. And we see this very well in chapter 3, as Catnap seems to be worshipping some sort of shrine of the prototype in the caves, and also willingly gives up his life to the prototype in the very end of chapter 3 after the boss fight. However, one of the saddest stories of toys retaining their memories seems to be the case of Fatty the Fat Doughy the Dough Man. If you didn't know, Doughy is actually made up of 3 different kids: Jack Ayers, Kevin Barnes, and Matthew Hallard, all of them displaying different qualities in Doughy throughout chapter 4, with Jack being a little kid who was innocent and mostly happy, Kevin being an extremely angry child who used to live in Playcare and even attack some of his friends, but Matthew being an older child who, after the accident with his parents, always blamed himself for what happened. And we see all of these qualities come out perfectly in chapter 4, as some of the voice lines talk about how Doughy misses his mom and his dad in a sad, young, whining voice, which is most likely Jack saying that he misses his parents, as the reason that Jack turned into Doughy in the first place is because Jack fell into a vat of dough during what seems to be a Playtime Co-factory tour. And in the very end of chapter 4, where Doughy's voice keeps switching, we hear what seems to be Matthew telling us that he was never good enough.
I tried to be better, to be who they needed. Smart enough, not good enough, not!
Which is most likely referencing his childhood, or even the incident that happened with his parents, as during his time in Playtime Co, he was a leader among the children and all of them looked up to him, and so it doesn't make sense that he wasn't good enough in Playcare, but it would make sense if he was remembering his past before then. And although this one isn't as clear, it seems that Kevin Barnes remembered all of the people who lied to him as a kid, as when Doughy talks about the gentle voices and how they lie, he's always in an angry tone, most likely meaning that this is Kevin lashing out in anger.
The gentle voices lie. I know what they do. They lie, and they poke, and they hurt. Susan, get away from me!
Jack? Mommy won't lie to you, Jackie.
And you might be wondering who these gentle voices are, and if you want to see the video on that, check out the link in the description. But what does all this mean? Well, if the orphans can remember their past lives, then they're more likely to hold past trauma, and all of the orphans were treated poorly when they became experiments, literally being kept in cages, and some of them being treated as nothing but vessels of meat. So now that we're back in the factory, we're gonna have to deal with several experiments along with their past problems, as it seems the entire reason that Doughy crashed out on us is because of his past of being lied to. And so although we were trying to help him, he took our help and bad circumstances as us pretending to be good, but in reality trying to hurt him and his friends. And the absolute worst thing that could happen is if one of the experiments ends up recognizing us, which seems to happen with Mommy Longlegs, as she says that we used to work here, but yet we didn't say a single word to her.
But they come for games and never come back. They left Mommy to die alone. Mommy didn't deserve that. But you worked here. So if anyone deserves to die alone, it's you.
And she isn't the only character that mentions this. Back in chapter 3, when we come across Miss Delight in the school, she also mentions the fact that we used to work here.
Wait, I recognize you. Yes, I remember. You used to work here. How are you? Alive? Barb? Oh. Barb says you're looking for your co-workers. Catnap wouldn't like that you're here. You should leave. For your own safety.
And not to mention the chapter 3 hallucination, where we see what seems to be our old office, with writing on the wall saying, "Guilt haunts you." And so if the experiments can remember us, y'all say it with me now, we are. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video right here.